What's on
I didn't realize
SmackDown?
we were
What's
still
jumping
going.
out at you most about SmackDown at the moment? We're live, pal.
Um, oh shit. Well, let's go. I mean, like I said, seeing Daniel Bryan and Cesaro wrestle, I'll never say no to that. Not seeing Kevin Owens enough, that was upsetting. I understand. Like, I still think that rivalry should be done because he lost the last man standing match, which you would think would be a definitive end.
It's because they haven't got anyone
But
else to
with
put
the
in that
stunner, you never
rivalry.
know.
That's the
They've got
impression I'm
Daniel
getting. They've
Bryan.
got Daniel Bryan, but ultimately, I'm not sure having Daniel Bryan versus Roman Reigns. Like, I don't believe that anyone is going to beat Roman Reigns till WrestleMania. So you may as well just kind of reboot. And also, it's so good, you kind of have to go with it. But I like Daniel Bryan. I like Cesaro. I think Nakamura's alright. I don't think they're the kind of guys that I believe can be. I think Kevin Owens is better than all of those guys. I do. I really do believe
Oh,
that.
100%.
Not necessarily just in ring. I think Daniel Bryan's the best in ring in a lot. But for me, like, I think you haven't really got much of a choice. Like, it's who else do you put in there? People can say, "Oh, push Nakamura." Okay, you can give Nakamura a title chance, but do you honestly believe he's going to win? No, of course he's not. Especially that, he didn't win the Rumble either. So, and obviously, Edge is. I mean, what do we reckon? Do we think Edge is actually going to face Roman Reigns at Mania? Because I've heard that apparently it might be Debray.
I mean, I'm okay with that. I think Edge and McIntyre could have a really good match. I don't want to see him in NXT. No shot at NXT, but I don't think he needs to do that. I mean, it might. They did something like that last year. I understand it was Charlotte last year, but so they could do a man doing it this year, if that makes any sense. It would bring more eyes to the product for sure, and having the NXT title defended at WrestleMania would be huge. But I mean, they're not going to put the NXT title in the main event. Sorry, they're just not going to do it. I don't care if WrestleMania is 2
It's a
nights.
shame because
It's going to be a curtain jerker.
from a wrestling standpoint, I think that's got the most appeal to me. But I'm not in charge of WrestleMania. I'm not a fucking marquee level talent. So I'm not in charge of the marquee. I'm not in charge of retail. I'm not in charge of bringing in casual fans. Casual fans aren't going to come in their droves. They might recognise Edge, but they're going to be like, "Who's this Finn Balor?" Or Pete Dunne, or whoever he might be facing. Ultimately, people aren't going to pay money to see that match, whereas they are going to pay money to see Edge versus McIntyre to a lesser extent. But ultimately, the one that's got the most money is Edge versus Roman Reigns. So it'd be very interesting to see what kind of line they're going to go down.
I mean, if it ends up being Edge and Roman, that's fine. Because they turned Sheamus heel. Not that was he ever not heel?
Yeah, for a little
Really?
bit.
Like,
The idea was that he was kind of
for
like
like
a
3
twink.
weeks.
He kind of broken his heel sort of mentality for a little while and was kind of aligning himself with the champ, Drew McIntyre. He kind of helped Drew win it back by instilling the spirit of the Scottish Warrior in him, and that's why he ended up re-beating Orton, because he came out with a kilt and the sword, and the idea was that was a gift of his family's heritage that Sheamus had found for him from back in the old days when they were good friends. And it kind of feels like they've had to pull the trigger pretty quickly on him going back to being a heel, just because they haven't got anybody to face Drew for the next couple of... Because you still got, 2.5 months or 2 months until Mania, so...
They'll probably have the match at Elimination Chamber, if I had to guess.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
And then maybe if they have... Because WrestleMania is not till almost halfway through April?
Coming around
like the 11th and 12th, I think. So there's going to be another pay-per-view in March.
Roadblock.
Assumingly. Is it Roadblock, End of the Line?
No idea. It could be Great Ball of Fire.
Or it could be
I don't really
Fastlane.
give a shit, if I'm being honest.
So, I mean, yeah, you could give Sheamus, give him like a media, if you're thinking a GM mode and fucking Here Comes the Pain or whatever, give him like a medium rivalry where give him 2 months, give him Elimination Chamber, give him the one in March, and then hopefully you have someone they've been building for the last 2 months that can, win something maybe they'll win at Elimination Chamber and be like, hey, the guy who wins the the Raw Elimination Chamber gets a shot at Drew
Fast Lane
at WrestleMania or something.
Sorry, Alex Delanzo just wrote in the chat, Fast Lane. He loves himself a Fast Lane. He also loves himself a cheeky old York Hall 5-finger discount, doesn't he? The inside joke continues.
See, I don't like Fastlane because 2017 is when Kevin Owens lost to Goldberg, so I don't like to think about that pay-per-view.
The fast lane to jobbing somebody out is what that was. But But yeah, no, I gotta be honest, I thought SmackDown was a little slow. I thought it was better than Raw. I thought Raw was still 4 or 5 out of 10 at best. Whereas this, being only 2 hours, they had a lot more that got me interested. You know, Roman Reigns starting the show, coming out, cutting that fantastic promo, really, really good on the mic, fantastic as a heel. And then obviously basically getting angry and saying, you know, I need to know that I'm facing Edge right now. Edge has got to come out and tell me right fucking now. He's got till the end of the night. Good stuff. And then there was like loads of filler in between. I really like the Cesaro-Daniel Bryan match because it wasn't that long. I don't want to see those guys wrestling for half an hour on a SmackDown. Save that for pay-per-view if you're going to do that. So it was nice that it was only like 5 to 10 minutes. I'll tell you what I haven't mentioned on SmackDown reviews on this channel in ages is the rivalry between Baron Corbin and Dominic Mysterio and the Mysterio family. Do you give even the slightest shit about this rivalry, despite the fact that we love everyone involved?
I might care even less about this than I did about him and Rollins.
Ooh.
Like, we got some good matches there,
Someone's
to be fair.
eye was taken out in that rivalry.
Yeah, and apparently Rey Mysterio is just like Deadpool or Wolverine. It could just regenerate his eyes
Something
back.
like that, yeah.
So, I mean, good for him. Good, cool. Must be that, like, you know, he dresses up like an Aztec god every once in a while. So he got a little bit of divine power. Just pop, there you go. But, I mean, no, I don't care. Dominic, I think, has an incredible future. I mean, he's been in this business forever. His father's, you know, as far as I'm concerned, one of, if not the greatest luchador in the world ever. I love Rey Mysterio so much.
Not as good as Rey Fenix.
I mean, that's fair. They're both a Destiny once, and I wasn't there for it.
Wow, you missed out on that show, didn't
Yeah.
you? What,
Yeah,
Rey Mysterio and Phoenix are at the same Destiny show?
I don't know. They've been to Destiny. I don't know if it was the same show, but they've both been there. Dude, Ricochet's been at a Destiny show, and he was in a match with Rey Mysterio.
Yeah, I remember
and I wasn't
going to
there
see
for
Rey
it.
Mysterio right before he re-signed with WWE, and he faced Marty Scurll in the main event at Rev Pro, and I just thought, fuck me, that geezer can still go with the best of them. Like, he was so good. I did enjoy seeing him get thrown off the stage by Baron Corbin. Somebody said on Twitter that he was wearing 9 to 5 attire. If that's 9 to 5 attire, then he clearly sells drugs in Miami, because that's the only way you would be dressed like that. Like, he looked like a fucking fresh pimp, innit, with all that mask and shit. He looked good, to be fair. Rey Mysterio still looking very good for his age. I don't mind the gimmick because they're not doing too much with it, you know. It tends to be a 5 or 10 minute throwaway segment on SmackDown. If they made it like, you know, a big pay-per-view level feud, it would probably piss people off. And people are asking where Aaliyah and Buddy Murphy are. I don't care. But next week we get the return of Seth Rollins, and I swear to God, if he goes anywhere near the Mysterio family, I will vomit. Like, I have absolutely no interest in that. I kind of was hoping they might have repackaged him a little bit and got rid of some of the Messiah gimmick, but it turns out he's just going to come back as the Messiah. So, you know, at least he'll be legitimately a father as a Messiah, so that might work in his favour, but I'm not fussed. I think it might be Daniel Bryan versus Seth Rollins at the next pay-per-view. I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with that. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they could maybe try and give Seth a shot at Roman, but I think the heel-on-heel dynamic would be weird. Roman can't turn face at this point, and a face like Insane Reverend just won't fly. Like, I don't think it could.
Reverend Devon.
So they could still have the match. Hey, we got Deacon Batista out of that.
Shout out to Reverend Devon, who just suffered a stroke.
Oh no.
Yeah, apparently recovering well, but you know, shout out anyway, because that's not something I ever want to fucking go through, and a lot of people around me have suffered with conditions like that, and it's not fun. My mum had 2 strokes last year, so yeah, I appreciate how difficult a situation that is, so shout out to him. But yeah, I must admit, this SmackDown was all kind of like, instead of giving us high quality, high exciting moments, they kind of went for the build, you know? It feels like it's going to be a slow burn, a slow road to WrestleMania, so it's kind of like gradually building your anticipation and excitement. That's what I'm hoping they're doing. But I'm sorry, if for instance, my mate Rich is still messaging me telling me how much he hates Edge and how much it's a joke, and you probably saw him on our Instagram saying, does the R in rated R stand for retirement and all this shit? And it's like, if you're watching this product and you're not seeing the benefit that Edge brings to the programming, what he did on Raw, what he did on NXT as well, not to mention SmackDown, you know, making everyone else around him look better and giving back to the product as much as possible while while on his way to, on his road to WrestleMania. Like, I'm sorry, but you got to be fucking blind to not appreciate what he's doing on this product. Like, I get it. Like, Rich doesn't like him, so I just kind of laugh it off because, like, whatever. But he thinks CM Punk's the greatest wrestler of all time, so ultimately I'm not taking his opinion too seriously.
I don't think I'd be friends with this gentleman.
Probably not, no. I have pointed out on several occasions, well, the difference between CM Punk and Edge is that Edge didn't fucking have a little cry and go home every time things got too tough for him. So, end of story, really. But I like what Edge is doing on this program. I think, he wasn't, it's not like he was all over it either. And I like the fact that he's not just like, oh, I'm just going to come out straight away and be like, yo, I'm fucking Royal Rumble winner, pay attention to me. No, he's actually letting everybody else get their shit in first, which is what great veterans and great champions and Hall of Famers do.
Like, he rubbed shoulders. Like, when you look at this week in WWE programming, Raw, NXT, SmackDown, you just saw Edge backstage with all, like, these younger guys, just, like, giving him the fist bump, probably, assumingly, giving him some advice or some shit, like just the face-off of Karrion Kross in the parking lot in NXT.
That's the highlight of the week for me in terms of WWE.
Him in the ring with Balor and Pete Dunne, like, he is hyping up both guys so good. I was already excited for that match at TakeOver, but I'm probably incredibly erect right now, but good thing the camera stops at the waist.
Yeah, we can't pan down here, luckily.
And, like, giving that little fist bump to Sonya Deville, I thought was pretty cool. Having him talk back there with Nakamura. I know you're not a huge fan of Nakamura.
He's alright.
But, I mean, it's still...
do you know what? I'm preferring now because I feel like he's in the right position. I'm sorry, I don't think Nakamura is good enough to be in the main event. I just don't. I don't think Cesaro is either. I think Cesaro, from a wrestling standpoint, I understand Cesaro a lot more because I think he's tenfold in the ring than Nakamura was. Now, don't get me wrong, Nakamura in New Japan was fucking incredible. This isn't New Japan. We've seen that. For instance, Kenta is fucking amazing in New Japan. As soon as he got in the WWE ring, meh. Like, whatever. And ultimately, for me, guys like Nakamura, Cesaro, they are fantastic workers. They have a fantastic place in this company, and it's great that they're in the WWE, which is, whether you like it or not, still the pinnacle of wrestling. But ultimately, at the same time, people act as if everybody should have an opportunity. This is that all-inclusive attitude, and I really admire the fact that WWE haven't gone down the AEW route where everybody gets equal time, everybody gets a great match. Yay, all-inclusive. Yeah, all-inclusive means you're all entitled to watch the product or be a part of it. It doesn't mean you're all entitled to be the best. To be the best, you have to fucking earn it. You have to put in the work rate. And ultimately, do I want to see Roman Reigns, Edge, Drew McIntyre, Brock Lesnar, whether you like it or not? These are the main event guys. Or do I want to see Cesaro, Nakamura, Dolph Ziggler, Robert Roode, who, by the way, have all had great opportunities? How long has Ziggler been in this company for? Ziggler is a former WWE champion. Ziggler is a former world champion, at least. And, what's he done with that? Nothing. He hasn't changed. He's still the same guy. By the way, their new gimmick, which is essentially, we are a shit version of FTR. Also, the Street Profits on commentary. I love the Street Profits. That sucked. They were really bad on commentary.
It took a lot away from the action. Like, the match wasn't, fantastic, but it was... They were trying too hard, I think, to be funny, so it did take away... Like, you'd be looking in the corner of the screen as opposed to watching the match.
Really
and
shitty.
Commentators can't take away from the match. That's not their point. The point of commentators is to put over the guys in the ring, not themselves. And I think, as much as we love the Street Profits, I think they kind of did that.
Yeah, Alex Lanzo writes, different strokes for different folks. Sometimes people are not suitable for the style that WWE produce, and their wrestling suffers. That's absolutely true, and I've said that.
Oh, 100%.
Kenta is clearly a world-class wrestler, but he doesn't suit the WWE performance. Whereas, for instance, a good example, Akira Tozawa, I think suits WWE because he's very good at the carny, more entertainment-based stuff. He's funnier. He's got better facial expressions. Kenta wanted to be this serious Japanese assassin, and ultimately, there wasn't really much room for him. And they did give him a main event against Finn Balor, and it was good, but it wasn't a mind-blower. And ultimately, if you're in charge of WWE... You're looking at the profit margins. You're looking at that baseline. This is a fucking business. And if I'm in charge of a business and you put two guys in front of me and say, hey, these guys could potentially be really good and make some money. Okay, let's give them an opportunity. And they make no money at all. Well, of course I'm not going to go back to them. And that's the same with guys like Cesaro and Nakamura. They didn't draw enough. They didn't make enough money. Nakamura was given an opportunity at the WWE title. He won the Royal Rumble. He drew very little. Therefore, WWE were like, great, because ultimately, what the Smarks want and what the overall fan base wants is very different. What do you think about Eric Bischoff this week saying that 95% of fans don't give a shit about 5-star matches, they give a shit about entertainment, and that's why wrestling is in the toilet, so to speak, because ultimately too much of wrestling is catered towards the heavy smarks who just want to see a 5-star flippy fantastic match, as opposed to world-class promotion, promos, vignettes, characters, things of that nature.
I mean, who am I to disagree with Eric Bischoff? He's been in this business longer than I've been alive. I mean, I love being entertained by wrestling because, let's be honest, the world needs entertainment right now. Roman Reigns isn't a 5-star wrestler. He's not. He's good, great.
I don't think anyone.
Exactly.
This is what annoying, because now people just say wrestler, and for me, wrestler means physical, athletic attributes. Entertainer is everything, encompassed in that. So nowadays, being a wrestler doesn't mean being a good wrestler. It means being an all-round entertainer, being a good promo, being a good hand in the ring, being able to elevate guys around you, not just in terms of wrestling, but also in promos, the way you carry yourself, the way you present yourself, your professional look. There are so many things that go on. For instance, right, everyone's talking about Cesaro and Nakamura. How about Sami Zayn gets a push? He's out there doing both. He's having great matches, but he's also got a great gimmick going on. He's adding so much entertainment to the product. He's funny, he's hilarious, he's obnoxious, he's got a great character. Why are we not saying, yeah, Sami Zayn this, Sami Zayn? There's a reason Kevin Owens is getting the opportunity to face Roman Reigns sometimes, because he's one of the best in the world at what he does. Why would you not put the best in the world right there? Ultimately, Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns are making money, and guys like Cesaro and that aren't. So, and also Cesaro, it's not like he's having it shit, is he? Like, he's beaten Daniel Bryan twice in high-profile matches on SmackDown in the last few weeks. He had a good showing in the Rumble. Nakamura, for instance, has had quite a decent push lately. These guys aren't scrubs. They're not in the undercard all the time. These guys are having high-profile matches everywhere. I just think people want to have a little whinge. And ultimately, I think if you look at AEW's product, that can make it a little bit worse as well. Because AEW's kind of saying, yeah, well, we give Orange Cassidy a 15-minute match. That's great for their small, tiny little fan base of hardcore smarks, but ultimately, strong casuals aren't going to tune in to see that. And the one thing I really love about WWE is that they are like, yeah, sure, anyone can wrestle here if they've got enough quality, but not everybody can be a star. And that's something that I think AEW struggles with. They want everyone to be a star, irregardless of who they are, and that's not possible. And if you look back in the history of when wrestling was really popular, when tens of millions of people watched it, you always had job guys, enhancement talents, and they were good at their job. And there was nothing wrong with being an enhancement guy. Look at the Brooklyn Brawler, for instance. Barry Horowitz, all these different guys. They made a fucking huge living off of essentially being bitches. And they lived well, and they lived well because of that, and they looked after themselves, and they had good careers. Gilbert made loads of money from being that guy because he just loved the business. It's gone from, I want to be in the business because I'm incredible, to, I want to be in the business to make a shitload of money and be a star. And that's ultimately why someone like CM Punk had a hissy fit and left. And let's be honest, CM Punk literally was given everything.
I mean, longest title reign in modern history so far. I don't think 434 days has been beaten by a world champion yet. I mean, that's pretty good. But at the same time, you're right. There is Nakamura and Cesaro especially, I think, are my favorite examples. They're good in the ring. Sure, their promos are middling. It's fine. But I think the upper mid card and, the occasional jump into a main event, I'm okay with that. If you give them one shot, they fail, they're back down, fine. If you need some guys to fill up space, fine. I'm okay with that. But if they were getting like the Kevin Owens treatment, just getting match after match with Roman, you wouldn't believe they'd win after the first match. So why would you care if they go at it 3-4 more times? That's not even entertaining at that point. That's just you admitting you have no one else.
Yeah, Alex Alonso says having a character is 75% of your success. Look at Mad Kurt. He's a British wrestler. I don't know if you're in know Mad Kurt very well. He's basically become a gigantic troll on the internet. He's basically a keyboard warrior wrestler, which is very clever. He said, look at Mad Kurt as a normal wrestler as Curtis Chapman. No one liked him, even though he was a fantastic wrestler. But you turn him into a moron and everyone loves him. R-Truth as well. R-Truth's a really good example of that. You know, R-Truth's a former NWA champion, but let's be honest, I'd say R-Truth is probably in the biggest vein of popularity he's ever been in as a wrestler. And what does he do? Just at the twat, doesn't he? Like, run around, winning titles in a bin, dressing up as a ninja, watching Japanese guys get eaten by sharks, literally all the dumb shit that we hate the most, but it's put in the right place so you don't hate it as much. The stuff that AEW thinks is main event, WWE puts that in their 24/7 title thing. Because they think, yeah, there's plenty of room for fun, but when it comes down to it, our main event shouldn't be loaded with hysterical idiocy. It should be loaded with highly serious and highly capable contenders. Case in point, their women's division, you know? Bianca Belair comes out, obviously. Reginald, he's a bit of a gobshite, isn't he, old Reginald? He's
a bit of a shithead, isn't he?
He loves it, doesn't he? He's, apparently, Reginald was a former Cirque du Soleil athlete slash circus performer, whatever you want to call it, before he got the call up to WWE, and has not actually really had any proper competitive matches at all to speak of, but decent on the mic, very athletic. He comes out, basically implies that, yeah, Bianca Belair is great, but, you know, you're not going to beat Sasha Banks, because even Carmella can beat Sasha Banks, and she's better than you. And then, weirdly enough, he gets interrupted by his own boss, which is very strange. That was like bad timing on their behalf. And then, of course, Sasha Banks comes out, and quite literally the entire male population faints at the sight of her, because
True.
Damn, girl. Jesus, she's so fine. And she just looks like a star, man. She feels like a star. I quite enjoyed this segment, actually. A lot of people I noticed on social media weren't big fans of it, said that the women were kind of squawking and the promos weren't good, but I thought they were fine. I like the fact that Sasha Banks came down and was like, yeah, you're fantastic, and put everybody over, but ultimately, you're not the champion. I am the champion, and if you want to be the best, then you're going to have to beat me. Very Ric Flair-esque, actually. If you want to beat the woman, you got to beat the woman. Simple as that, really. I like this segment, and also Bianca Belair didn't give it away too quick. This is the problem with wrestling fans as well. I see people on social media, just hurry up and say who you want to face at WrestleMania. Why? Have you never heard of suspense, an organic build? You know, if you just give it away, then people are going to be like, great, see you in April then. You're going to turn off the TV, aren't you? If you know what the WrestleMania card is now, you're not going to fucking wait. You're not going to watch Elimination Chamber. You're going to be like, yeah, cool, whatever. Whereas if you sort of say, like, do you know what? I'll think about it and then build some storyline about it. Maybe Roman Reigns attacks Edge next week and that encourages him to feel more inclined to face him. Maybe Drew McIntyre says, when I'm done with Sheamus, I want a piece of Edge's ass. You know, make some storyline about it. You don't have to spunk everything away in 3 weeks like the Young Bucks and FTR did. Not everything has to be given away just like that. The idea of WrestleMania is that it's the pinnacle. It's going to be this huge pay-per-view. So why would you not sell people on those matches closer to the date? You've got so much time to build. You know that a general core of fans are going to watch WrestleMania. I think it's going to be Bianca Belair versus Sasha Banks just because that feels like the biggest draw. I think that's pretty much certain. I do feel right now, if I was pushed to say anything, I think Edge is going to face Drew McIntyre, and I think we're going to get Daniel Bryan versus Roman Reigns. But I think Elimination Chamber, it's always fantastic. It was last year, and I think people really sleep on that pay-per-view because it ends up being really good. It's Fastlane or Roadblock, whatever, that ends up being trash. Elimination Chamber, especially with the gimmicks around it, tends to be a good show and deserves a bit of love and admiration for what it does. So, you know, here's hoping that that's going to deliver, just because I thought last year it was one of the better shows of the entire year. I thought it was a fantastic show, you know, with we had Shayna Baszler just murdering all the women, you know, which was fantastic. We had the tag team elimination chamber where Lindsay Dorado decided he was going to do a shooting star press while suspending himself from, you know, the top of the cage, things like that. Like, there's plenty to get into.
It looked great, but, you know, having the 9 guys underneath ready to catch him, I love to hate stuff like that.
Get
because,
your JR on, mate.
I had JR just call it out on his own product. Fucking Christ.
I love that. I love how he's like, He's like, yeah, I get paid a lot of money by Tony Khan, but fuck you. He's just like, you're shit, that looks fake. He even does it on the show, doesn't he? Did you see after that botch by Top Flight? And Excalibur was like, I think Matt Seidel's the legal man. And JR just goes, does it even matter anymore? It's like, this is awful. This is bad. This is a bunch of flippy muppets running around. Like, yeah, no. You are right, though. I cannot stand that. We should do a podcast based solely on our pet peeves of wrestling, just old men yelling at clouds. Because that is one of the big things for me. When people are just like waiting for it, it looks so fake. And I love how wrestling fans get pissy about the word fake, because ultimately it does look fake. You know, the wrestling itself isn't fake. That is fake.
But going back to building storylines from the Royal Rumble, the best example I can think of that is 2005. Batista wins the Rumble, and they spent like 2 months, I think. Yeah, the thumbs up, thumbs down.
Brilliant.
Sorry, Sami Callihan. Batista's been doing that since 2005.
Yeah. Get your own gimmick, Sammy. You prick.
But, like, when, Batista's, outside Triple H's dressing room and he hears him go and talk to Ric Flair, pushing him to SmackDown. We're just going to own everything. I don't want to fight him. And then you get the thumbs down, the powerbomb through the table. And you get that trilogy of matches at WrestleMania, it was probably Backlash, and then Vengeance in Hell in a Cell. If you build the reveal of who the Royal Rumble winner is going to face, you can get matches like that. You can get a trilogy like that. And just giving it away immediately is boring as shit. I mean, was I excited when Nakamura said he wanted to face Styles immediately? Of course I was fucking excited, because I saw what they did in New Japan. I'm like, oh, they could give us something like that. And of course, it was all centered around the penis. So, letdown. See, that's a perfect example. You give it away right away, you're just going to get kicked in the dick for 4 months. Yeah. And that's wrong.
What did you think of the triple threat for the IC title? I thought that was fantastic. I thought that was genuinely one of the highlights of the show. Those three guys put on a great match. I'm really digging Apollo Crews actually right now, facing Big E. Those two are having great matches. Big physical contest. Big E ultimately retains the IC title. But
good choice.
I thought this was, considering Daniel Bryan and Cesaro was on the show, and by the way, the end of Cesaro and Daniel Bryan when he gets him up in that rack and then fucking launches him and drops him on his knee, that was sick. That backbreaker was absolutely insane. Like, you don't understand the power needed to do a suspension mid-air backbreaker like that. That's insane work, that is. But I thought this match in particular was the best match I saw of the night. Like, there wasn't actually a huge amount of wrestling to get your teeth into, but this was really fucking good. Like, really, really good physical contest. And it made the IC title feel important, because obviously it was the only belt being defended.
I thought Apollo Crews, like, after Big E won, he was celebrating on the turnbuckle. I thought Apollo Crews was going to knock him down. Was going to drag him out and beat the shit out of him. You could see him. He was, like, startling, like, breathing heavy like a rabid animal. And I thought we were going to get, I don't know if you call it a heel turn or, like, a frustration beatdown or something. We didn't get it. Maybe they're going to slow build to that, too, which I'm fine with. Because, right, these two have really good matches together. And Sami Zayn is just Sami Zayn. He's fantastic. The fucking whole conspiracy theorist thing, I love it. I don't know why. It's stupid, but that's probably why I love it.
Yeah, I do. I love it as well. I just like Sami Zayn. I've always liked Sami Zayn's ability to entertain. I think he's grossly underappreciated. This is a guy who, when he came in, was essentially El Generico with a mask and didn't do any promos or any facials or anything. And then to see the growth for a guy who, did nothing like that, to now be completely maskless and to entertain in the way he does. I don't think I've ever seen a wrestler come from a more lucha-based gimmick, not background, obviously, being Canadian, a lucha-based gimmick like he had, to be able to fast forward and to feel like such a powerful character. He just obviously understands what it takes to be around in the WWE system and be good in that system. Big E looks fantastic as the IC champion. I'm glad he's not getting the mega push just yet. I think he's still got a way to go to feel like a big main event star. People just want to push immediately. And you know what? I think Big E's in the position that Bianca Belair was this time last year, where he looks powerful, he looks good, he looks credible, but it doesn't hurt to give a young, talented guy like him another year to help build, to learn more character development, learn more promo developments and content, and then a year later, him winning next year's Royal Rumble would be fantastic. I think he.
I think give him a big showing in this year's Survivor Series. Put him on the traditional 5-on-5.
Yeah.
Give him a big showing.
Have him be the sole survivor. Have him take out maybe,
Absolutely.
especially if he's representing SmackDown. I think Braun Strowman. Oh no, Braun Strowman's on SmackDown as well. Or is he on Raw? No, he's on Raw, isn't he? He just decided to rock up last week and beat people up on SmackDown, which made no sense whatsoever. Because they had all those people. They had a crossover, didn't they, last week? Which, to be fair, was quite fun. But Braun Strowman, for instance, if he picked up Braun Strowman, gave him the fucking big ending, and won the Survivor Series match for his team, it'd be a big deal. There are opportunities to build, guys. We don't just have to spunk it away. The amount of people have said to me, Cesaro needs to win this year's Royal Rumble. Doesn't need to win anything. Fuck off. Can you imagine if Cesaro had won it? Great. And you would have had a great match, but the promos and the entertainment quality, which is what casual fans watch, they wouldn't have cared. They would not have cared. And like Alex said about Curtis Chapman, Mad Kurt, on our comments, he's so right, because Curtis Chapman is one of the best I've been in the ring with Curtis Chapman. He's taught me a few submission holds. He's a lovely guy, but let's be honest, no one gave a shit about him. They just thought he was this weird avant-garde tribute to Zack Sabre Jr. until all of a sudden he comes out as Mad Kurt. He's got a cape on. He's threatening Minoru Suzuki, saying he's going to knock out his dad and all this stuff. And then Minoru, he's over more because Minoru Suzuki buries him at your call. He's just murders him with a pile driver and a multiple amount of chops. You just think, and he was more over for it, and that proves that even in a country where we pride ourselves on strong, gritty wrestling and athleticism, even here we care about people more if they can entertain us. Because wrestling is not. If I just wanted to see pure athleticism, I'd go and watch MMA. If I wanted to see pure combat, I'd go and watch boxing. If I just wanted to see pure gymnastics, I'd go and watch gymnastics. You want to see all of that encompassed into a semi-predetermined format of entertainment. That's what the idea of wrestling is. So when people say to me, Cesaro's the best wrestler, so therefore, yeah, absolutely, he's one of the best wrestlers in the world. That doesn't mean that he should automatically be in the main event. Who's more entertaining on the microphone? Kevin Owens or Cesaro? It's not even fucking close. Who has a better all-round gimmick? Who is more believable? Kevin Owens. It's not because Cesaro isn't legitimate. The problem is, yeah, great, he's a legitimate shooter. He's a legitimate wrestler. For instance, Otis is a legitimate shooter and wrestler. You saw that in the Royal Rumble with those insane suplexes. And by the way, another great showing with Chad Gable. Really, really sad that they were overshadowed so much in that match, because not only did they have to deal with the fact that they had to drop out the Rude and Ziggler, who I cared so little about. They are the least interesting champions this company has across the entire board. Yawn in every sense. But also the fact that obviously the Street Profits on commentary hyping themselves up and slagging off Rude and Ziggler, and so nobody gives a shit about Otis and Thingy. By the way, Otis, far more entertaining than Nakamura, so when he went over Nakamura and everyone was outraged by that, I just thought, well, Otis actually entertains me and Nakamura doesn't. All Nakamura does is come out looking like a cosplay of Eddie Murphy's Raw. I'm not that interested in that, sorry. But I thought this SmackDown was alright. It was good value for money. I'll tell you what, if this SmackDown had been 3 hours like Raw, I would have tuned out. I would have been like, but because it was only 2 hours, it was able to rebalance itself easier, and I was able to enjoy parts about it that I may not necessarily have enjoyed as much from the flip side of things. So for that reason alone, I feel like it did well. Anything else that stood out to you, mate?
I mean, we did have the women's match. We had Bayley against Ruby Riott, which was a good match. Absolutely, Billie Kay on commentary. She's really. I'm getting really into Billie Kay right now. Do I ever think she'll be a women's champion? I don't think so. But she's fucking hilarious. You saw Graves looking through her fucking resume. I'm pissing myself.
I love Graves.
She's
Graves almost being a face, and Michael Cole's stop encouraging her. It's almost like Michael Cole was don't encourage the special needs person, and Corey Graves is you could do whatever you want to do, Billy. You just ignore Michael. He's just a big meaty, isn't he? It was just really, I enjoyed it. I thought it was really funny, really entertaining, and I've not been a big fan of Billie Kay. I've been open and on the record and said I think Peyton Royce has far more potential, but I tell you what, Billie Kay's got far more potential as an entertainment aspect of this company. I think she's funnier. I think she's very, really, really funny on commentary. I think if I've seen this, if I'm Vince, I want her on commentary every week. Not for the whole thing, but just for a segment. She has got to commentate on a women's match every single week, just being this annoying little shite bag who's look at my resume. I'm fucking great, mate. Look at me. I'm fucking amazing. You gotta be joking me. I love it. I actually find her very entertaining, and that's something that WWE doesn't get enough love for, is that actually they do entertainment, and it's not as over the top as it is in other things. And also, where you haven't had the Fiend and the Firefly Funhouse stuff for a while, they are kind of lacking a little bit in terms of comedic stuff, aren't they? They've been relying on R-Truth a lot. So to have Billie Kay in this gimmick is actually a nice little relief from the seriousness of the big dog and all this kind of stuff. It's actually nice to watch. And also, by the way, Bayley and Ruby Riott. Bayley's amazing. Ruby Riott is a fantastic worker who doesn't get nearly enough love. She's so... Oh, by the way, Liv Morgan at ringside. I need to just admit on this podcast that I'm in love with her, and I literally... What? I'll tell you what. What do you reckon needs to be done so that I can go on a date with Liv Morgan? Because at this point, it feels like basically my life is worthless unless I get that date, innit? So I want to know and ask our people on YouTube, what do you reckon it's going to take for me to go on a date with Liv Morgan? Because that is a beautiful woman in every sense. Anyway, I was getting sidetracked. Ruby Riott was really good, is what I wanted to say. She was really good and very physical, and I love her. I love the Riott Squad, actually. I like them as a pairing, too. I think they feel better than as a trio in some aspects, and I do miss Sarah Logan, but I don't think they've missed out that much by her not being on the product. So, yeah, that was a good match. Bayley's still fantastic in the ring as well. She's actually now really underrated because she's a star, and she feels like one of the very few people in this company who's a megastar, but isn't actually in a position of being a megastar. She just kind of feels like a bit of an afterthought right now, doesn't she? And I love that. She's basically said, yeah, I'm a star. Let's move out of the way so Bianca Belair can have an opportunity, because I know I'm going to be around for years anyway. And yeah, I must admit, I enjoyed that match. It was a sneaky banger hidden away in the background. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, we didn't get too much women's stuff. I mean, we got the 2 segments, but I mean, 2 segments in 2 hours. I mean, it sounds
still better than what you're getting in AEW, isn't it, mate? Let's be honest.
Sorry, well, yeah, I mean,
Women.
We got that Eliminator tournament coming up, dude. What are you talking about?
Hiya, Kong. Are you excited for King Kong versus Godzilla, by the way? Have you seen the trailers for it?
I mean, if at any point someone thinks a fire-breathing dinosaur dragon thing is going to lose to a giant monkey, you're drunk.
Well, I mean, obviously King Kong is my boy. I believe we're from the same lineage, because, you know, come on, man. So ultimately, I'm thinking, I'm going to be rooting for my boy Kong. We're getting completely off track because we've spoken about Smackdown. Let us know what you thought of Smackdown, ladies and gentlemen, in the comments below. And for the next 10 minutes, we're going to talk about a film. So yeah, King Kong versus Godzilla, mate. I mean, obviously Godzilla, he's, you know...
Who's that? It's Mothra! Mothra's coming down the aisle!
Mothra coming down the aisle! Can you imagine if they actually... Oh, have you ever seen Kaiju Big Battle?
No.
So Kaiju Big Battle is a Japanese wrestling promotion where the wrestlers dress exclusively as kaijus, monsters like Godzilla and King Kong. And then they have jobbers who are dressed as skyscrapers who just basically get wrecked in the ring. And you'd love it. It's fucking amazing. We need to do a watch along of it, see if we can get some footage that they won't mind us airing on YouTube. I won't contact them and say, hey, do you mind if we do some like watch along, because I love your stuff. They are actually, really sadly, they were over here and they did a show after a Progress show that I went to, Super Strong Star. I think it was night 2, and they did a pay-per-view that night in London, and I opted not to buy tickets and not to go because money was a bit tight, and that was my one opportunity to see Kaiju Big Battle, and I missed it. So I won't be making that mistake again, even if I'm poor. But yeah, you should check that out. If you anyone watching this stream still watching this, you know, on repeat, if you fancy anything a little bit different, a little bit more comedic with your life, check out Kaiju Big Battle. That is hilarious shit. Really good fun, particularly if you're into the Japanese kind of spirit of like Godzilla and all that kind of stuff. It's good fun,
like the corny Japanese game shows.
Yeah, basically.
I can imagine that kind of stuff.
It is. It's like Takeshi's Castle crashes into WWE Smackdown, and then also fucking finds a little bit of, you know, it's almost like they spliced in a little bit of the script from the last Godzilla film as well, just for shits and giggles. It's crazy. Like, don't watch it if you do drugs, because you'll probably fucking have a heart attack of some sort. But no, it's good shit. It is. It's good shit. But yeah, no, I thought Smackdown was alright, to be honest. It was fine, and a lot of that is to do with the fact it was 2 hours long. So if it had been any longer than that, I think I might have been a bit peeved. Any closing thoughts, mate?
No, I mean, you just gotta echo that 2 hours is the perfect amount of time for a wrestling show. 3 hours is too many. 3 hours has been too many for the last like 4 years.
Yeah.
But here we are.
Yeah, I'm going to keep harping on about that because ultimately it's one of the biggest bugbears for me in wrestling is the fact that it's just too long. It's just too long. It really is. But let us know what you think, guys. There is a comment section down below for a reason. Share this. Let us know. We're only 6 away from 200 subscribers. 6 solitary subscribers until we start giving away free merch. Do you want a German Suplex t-shirt? It'll be free.
You do.
If you do
The
want
correct
it,
answer is you do.
you know you do. And ultimately, if you do want this t-shirt, or if you do want a free t-shirt from our Pro Wrestling Tee store, which you can check out at prowrestlingtees.com/WrestlePlug, then ultimately, all you got to do is get 6 subscribers. That's it. If between the 194 of you, you can't find 6 people who want to watch us talk about wrestling and have a bit of a giggle, well, frankly, you have failed at life. And I bring shame and dishonour on your cow and everything else that people say from random Disney films, whatever it might be. By the way, I saw Mulan on the other day. That's really fucking good. Really good.
See, a lot of people were angry because Mushu wouldn't be in it. I'm like, of course a talking dragon's not going to be in it.
People are so weird, aren't they? What?
It's a live
No
action
talking
movie
dragon?
about
Fuck you.
About the Huns invading. Of course not. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Mushu. I love, I'll Make a Man Out of You is one of the best Disney songs that's ever happened, ever. But you don't need that when you have a woman just kicking ass, beating up the Huns. You don't need it. Fucking, I haven't watched it yet. I actually watched WandaVision today, and the newest WandaVision is fucking. I know you're not a huge Marvel guy,
No, I haven't
but
watched
it's
WandaVision.
fucking
I'd like
unreal.
because we've got Disney Plus back again, so I might have to check that out.
It's
So
really
gonna have to
good.
get animation plug going, aren't we? Gonna have to start talking about something else because people just don't want to watch us talk about wrestling, innit? But yeah, no. Ultimately, like I say, guys, just 6 away from 200 subscribers. Check out our YouTube channel. Continue to support us at WrestlePlug as well. For myself and Carl Wilkinson, thank you very much for watching. Our State of Wrestling address drops tomorrow with brand new graphics as well, which I'm really excited to debut. So fingers crossed, they have been made entirely from scratch by me. I'm really proud of this, and I'm hoping that it will start to really garner a bit more of a look for our channel. So please, 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 if you do see it, if you do check it out, let us know what you think. It's a little bit of a change of pace for us, and hopefully if you like it enough, we're going to continue to use that going forward. Sorry if there's been a few kinks, a few little errors. With some reason Carl Wilkinson Scream is absolutely determined that it's going to move around, and I have to keep changing it back because OBS is a piece of shit ultimately. So if you've got any tips on how to stop doing that, or how to stop OBS doing that, please let me know because it's fucking irritating. But yeah, other than that, hopefully you've enjoyed this live stream, and if you're watching it, obviously thanks to Alex as well for interacting. It's always nice when somebody jumps in, gives us that emotional support. But yeah, we will continue to give you shitloads of content here at the WrestlePlug, and we're not going to stop until we're dead. So yeah, from myself, Aaron Nix, and Carl Wilkinson, thank you very much for joining us, and we will catch you incredibly soon for more content from the WrestlePlug.
Yeah.
Yeah.